Excitement and adventure are around every corner this summer at your library. Create your own literary wonderland at home. Immerse yourself in our never-ending online library. Learn new skills, explore virtual events, and connect with your community in a whole new way. Starting May 18th, the Prince George's County Memorial Library System and the Washington Nationals bring summer at your library to you. Hit a home run this summer and register today.
Good evening, and welcome to Reader's Advisory, Armchair Traveling Around the World, Mystery Edition. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy.
Hello, my name is Amy Jenkins, and I work for the Prince George's Memorial Library System at the Upper Marlboro branch. And I'm here today for another edition of Reader's Advisory. So today, I was really thinking about what to do. A lot of people like myself have had our vacation plans canceled. So I thought what it would be such a great thing to be able to travel the globe and do it through this world of mysteries. So let us begin. The way I've divided this presentation up is to look at the world of mysteries by traveling the different continents. I'm going to give a little disclaimer and say that I know that it's impossible for me to cover every wonderful country that's out there or every tourist destination. So this is not going to be inclusive of everybody, but at least this is going to give readers a start in exploring different countries of the world. And I also want to let readers know that this is talking about books in terms of the setting and where it's located, not necessarily the nationality of the authors involved. So with that, let's begin. We begin our journeys with Europe. And Europe has 44 countries. The most populated are Russia and Germany and the United Kingdom. And the least populated are the Holy See and San Marino. Some fun facts. The northernmost capital city is Reykjavik in Iceland. 10% of the world population lives here. People either speak Romantic languages like French or Spanish, or Italian, or sometimes Slavic languages like Russian, Polish, or Bulgarian. Some famous places to visit include the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy, the Eiffel Tower in France, the Kremlin in Russia, the Acropolis in Greece, and the Tower of London in England. I have visited the Tower of London. It was pretty cool, but there's just so many more great things to see. The first author and book I'm going to talk about is by Lars Kepler. This takes us to the country of Sweden. So in this installment, the first installment of the series, Lars Kepler's book is called The Hypnotist. It features Inspector Detective Juna Lina. The plot revolves around a triple murder and its only witness, the son. A hypnotist, Eric Maria Bark, is called in. Will the boy be able to recall the tragic events? Is something sinister at play? This series is chock full of twists and turns. If you like Stieg Larsson's Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I strongly recommend this series for you. From Sweden, we are going to Italy. This is a wonderful series by author Andrea Camilleri. The first in the series is The Shape of Water. This book is set in Sicily, and yes, I have been to Sicily, and it's beautiful, and the gelato is to die for. So this series features Inspector Salvo Montalbano, who can barely stay out of trouble. He values eating as much as he values solving crimes. Readers are introduced to a wonderful cast of quirky characters, including Mimi, a womanizer, Cattarella, a klutz, and Fazio, a detective who gives way too much information. The plots usually involve some form of corruption, and Salvo has a loathing relationship with his supervisors, and he has the love for the average Sicilian and is for the average man. This is a charming and funny police procedural, and once you read one, you will be absolutely hooked. Just to let you know, the actor Luca Zingaretti plays Salvo's character. So it is a fun series to watch. The library system does own it, and I would just strongly recommend this. Now, a lot of the books that I'm suggesting here, to let you know, are available a couple different ways. One, they're available electronically through Overdrive, which you can get to on our homepage, which is www.pgcmls.info. When the library hopefully reopens, you'll be able to check out the print copies. And there's also the possibility, if the library system doesn't own any of these titles or authors, that we can get it through a marina loan through another county when things get better, or an interlibrary loan from out of state. So there's always a way to get these titles, but first check with us. All right, moving along from Italy, we are going to England. Yes. I've also had the pleasure of going to England. I had a fabulous time in England. So I'm going to feature right now the author Alan Bradley. He has the first book in his series is called The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie. This features the main character, Flavia de Luce. She is an 11-year-old who is an aspiring chemist and has a panache for poison. Quite interesting. And in this first installment, Flavia finds a dead bird with a stamp on its beak at her doorstep. And no, she doesn't run. She's kind of like, that's interesting. And then she stumbles on a man taking his last breath in a cucumber patch. And so Flavia is both delighted and appalled at the same time. This series is really unique and special. It has wonderful originality, and it has eccentricity and humor. So please check out the Flavia de Luce series. I know it's sad that we're leaving Europe, but now we are moving on to the continent of Asia. Asia has 48 countries with 3 dependencies or territories. Most populated are China, India, and Indonesia. The least populated are Brunei and Maldives, or it could be Maldives. Some fun facts about Asia. It is the largest continent in the world. It is home to 4 billion people. The largest city is Tokyo, Japan. Nepal in Asia is the home of Mount Everest. Some famous places include the Great Wall of China, the Taj Mahal of India, the Petronas Twin Towers in Malaysia, Bali in Indonesia, and Jeju Island of South Korea. So we are going to start our adventure in India. Just a side note, I have a great passion for books that are written in India. Sometimes family elements can impact what you read. And I have a grandfather that was born in India. And because that is such an important setting in his life, it becomes an important setting for me to read more about the culture and history. So the first author is Sujata Massey. I had the pleasure of meeting her at the American Library Association conference in 2019. So it was really wonderful to be able to meet these authors and speak face to face. This book is The Widows of Malabar Hill. It's first in historical mystery series set in Bombay, featuring a Parveen mystery. She is the first female lawyer who is also a sleuth on the side. In the story, she is assigned to execute the will of Omar Farid. Did these three widows sign the will? Where is the money going? How can Parveen solve the case when only one wife signed with an X? How can she find answers when three widows live in purdah, or strict seclusion? So you're going to have to read this to find out what happens, and continue reading this series to find out more about the character Parveen. So from India, we are going to Vietnam. This is a book written by Andres Lan. I am not familiar with this particular author, but I was researching it and I wanted to learn more about another Asian country set as the background. And so I did not know anything about this story in Vietnam. So this is something that I am going to put on my list of books to read. So this book came out in 2016, and it features Ricky Van Lam. He is a Budoi, or a child of the dust, an orphan of a Vietnamese mother and a Black GI father who was left in an orphanage in Ho Chi Minh City. Ricky is treated terribly until a new kid, Mike, arrives. So we jump forward in time, years ahead, and Ricky is in America and working as a private investigator. He has contact with Mike, who seems to be living the American dream. But what about his son, Simon? Well, you're just going to have to read it to find out what happens next. And from Vietnam, we are going to Hong Kong. This is a book by the author Dorothy Gilman. I can't say enough great things about this. This particular book in her series is Mrs. Polifax and the Hong Kong Buddha. But what I will say about this is that it's a delightful series that features Mrs. Polifax. She's a senior citizen and an unexpected CIA agent from New Jersey, who, in the 7th book, Mrs. Polifax is in pursuit of an agent. But watch out! Trouble ahead! Never underestimate a senior operative. This series is addictive, it is funny, and you must read all of them. It's so great. I wish I had more Mrs. Polifax mysteries to read, but I finished the series, and if you're a reader, you know when you get to the end of the series, sometimes it's sad. So we have to find other series and expand our horizons. So from Asia, we are traveling again, and this time we are going to Africa. And Africa has 54 countries, the most populated being Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Egypt. The least populated are Seychelles, Sao Tome, and Principe. Some famous places include Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, Victoria Falls in Zambia, Marrakesh in Morocco, Luxor in Egypt, Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya, Kruger National Park in South Africa, and Burj Al Arab in Dubai. So we can't go to Africa without mentioning my favorite author ever, Alexander McCall Smith. So this book is featured in the lovely nation of Botswana. If you look at the cover right here, at the bottom, the #1 Ladies Detective Agency, you see that it's a series featured on HBO. So they did have a mini series on HBO, and it is wonderful. I think that sometimes when you have movies and books, that sometimes the movie doesn't translate as well. But with this particular mini series, I thought that they did a really great job. So in this series, it features Precious Remotsway, who is the owner of a #1 Ladies Detective Agency, and her assistant, Ma Grace Makutsi. So you see the lovely little cover on the left. So if I didn't say this again, it is my favorite series ever. Ma Precious Remotsway is a proud, traditionally built woman. She loves helping people with problems in their lives. So logically, she decides to open up a detective agency in Gaborone. She gets help from Ma Grace Makutsi, who is an awkward but highly efficient secretary. Together, they use Clovis Anderson's The Principles of Private Detection to help guide their way. Their first cases involve a missing husband, con men, and a missing 11-year-old. However, in the series, a lot of mysteries happen, including simple things like what happened to the cow. What makes Alexander McCall Smith so special is his ability to reach the pulse of the human element with its simplicity. This is such a great series, and I read today that there is the next installment is going to be called How to Raise an Elephant, and it's coming out in October 2020. So all of our fans of Alexander McCall Smith, that we're going to do a little happy dance when that comes out. So just so you see here, this is a list of books by Alexander McCall Smith in the #1 Ladies Detective Agency series. You can find lists like this if you go on our website and you look at the online resources. You're going to see a link for Novelist. Novelist will have authors and it will have books and their series, so it's a great resource when you're trying to find different authors to read and which orders in which to read them. So we move from the great nation of Botswana and we go to Egypt. Our next author is Elizabeth Peters. I know my mom has read her in the past because I remember those books around the house. I have not read her yet, but am going to be after we get off this session and my training here, I'm going to put one of the books on hold for me. So this book is, the first book in the series is Crocodile on the Sandbank. This long-standing series is set during Victorian times. It features the character of Amelia Peabody, who is a feminist Egyptologist, and her recently rescued friend Evelyn Barton Forbes. Together, they journey up the Nile River and meet up with the Emerson brothers at an archaeological site. A mummy is found and danger is around every corner. That sounds very ominous, but also kind of very addictive, because if you're a mystery lover like me, you want to solve the puzzles. So we see that this book series goes, well, it started in 1975, and we see, let's see, that it goes through 2006. So it's a very long run series. So sometimes what's great in series is that it's not a standalone one where you're only left with one book. So you get to, know more about the character and the setting if it continues on for a prolonged period of time. So we went from Botswana to Egypt, and now we're going back to Botswana. I was looking at another series to recommend, and I found this interesting one by Michael Stanley. The first title is A Carrion Death. It features Detective David Kubu Bengu, who works for the Botswana Criminal Investigation Department. And as it states on Amazon, he is an investigator whose personality and physique match his moniker, the Setswana word for hippopotamus, which is seemingly docile beast, but one of the deadliest and most persistent on the continent. Human remains are found in the Kalahari, and Kubu is called in. What evil lurks in the dark? Have to see. I definitely want to read this too. Okay, so now we are moving from Africa, and we are moving into Australia. So Australia has a population of more than 20 million people. It is a country well known for its tourism, and the largest cities are Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth. Some famous Australian places include Uluru, the Great Barrier Reef, Bondi Beach, Sydney Opera House, Taronga Zoo, and Fraser Island. I've always wanted to go to Australia. The only thing stopping me is the 22-hour flight. But I get to travel to Australia this way until my reality can happen. So the first author I'm going to feature is the wonderful Carrie Greenwood. Now, Carrie Greenwood has two extremely successful series. The series that I'm featuring here is the Karina Chapman Mysteries. But I strongly recommend her second series, which is the Phryne Fisher Mystery Series. Phryne is Phryne, and that is a delightful series about a sassy female who gets involved in all sorts of mysteries and cases and adventures. Phryne is way ahead of her time for a woman and what a woman does, and it's equal parts intrigue, seduction, devious plots. So if you really want another great series, this is kind of a twofer. So the Phryne Fisher series. but I'm also going to focus here on this Karina Chapman series. So Earthly Delights is the first book in this series featuring Karina Chapman, an accountant and banker who decides to leave the financial world and opens up a bakery called Earthly Delights. Surrounded by a cast of lovely, quirky characters, Karina and her cat Horatio stumble upon a dead body. Yikes! All she wants to do is just bake bread. We're just going to have to see. And next is the author Jane Harper, and she writes a book called The Dry. I have not read this one yet, but this is another one that I want to read. This police procedural was published in 2017. Being away for decades, federal agent Aaron Falk returns home to attend the funeral of his best friend Luke. 20 years prior, Aaron was accused of murder, and Luke was his witness. Under a cloud of suspicion, Aaron begins to investigate and concludes that things are not always what they seem. All right, in my last book, my last Australian book, I am featuring Fergus Hume. Fergus Hume wrote this book, The Mystery of the Hanson Cab. It is a vintage mystery which was originally published in 1886 and is set in the city of Melbourne. It features Detective Gorby. The plot revolves around a wealthy father, his beautiful daughters, and two suitors, one of which is found dead in a cab. The surviving suitor fails to reveal his whereabouts and is about to be convicted of murder. The question is, did he do it? Like I said, I have not read this yet, but I am putting it on my must-reads list. And my must-reads list is so long, it's an occupational hazard. So we are moving from Australia, and now we're going to the wonderful cold continent of Antarctica. So Antarctica has an estimated population of 1,106 people. The population is mostly made up of scientists from around the world. This very cold continent has lots of penguins. The first author I'm going to feature is also one of my favorites. This is Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. This book is called The Ice Limit. These authors have books that sometimes take place in New Orleans, sometimes New York, but this particular book, The Ice Limit, takes place in Antarctica. This is an action-packed thriller, so get ready to strap yourself in. A meteorite hunter is killed in Cape Horn, Chile. Billionaire Palmer Lloyd, a collector of rare, exotic, and archaeological artifacts, investigates. He hires effective engineering solutions under the leadership of Eli Glynn. Lloyd and Rachel Amira, a bright mathematician, together they are out to retrieve the ore like any seen before. Soon they are pursued by Commandant Valinar. What happens in the chase? Will they survive? What happens in the cold waters of Antarctica? Great book. And moving on to Simon Beaufort, his book, The Killing Ship. Marine biologist Andrew Barrister finished working on Livingston Island. However, soon it is discovered that they are not alone. Crew members start to disappear and supplies are sabotaged. Barrister and crew race across the icy continent to escape danger. But will they make it? All right. And moving on next to Sarah Andrews in Cold Pursuit. Melina Walker is working on her master's degree in geology studying glaciers. Soon she joins the renowned Dr. Emmett van der Zee. But unfortunately, when she gets there, Dr. van der Zee has been arrested for the murder of a reporter who was writing contradicting information about his research and finds. The question remains, did he murder him, or was he a victim of the harsh cold climate? I haven't read this one either, but like you, I'm going to put it on hold. So now we're going to jet off again to our next continent. We are going to South America. So South America has 13 countries plus 2 territories. The most populated is Brazil, then Colombia, and Argentina. The least populated are the Falkland Islands and French Guiana. One of the first authors that I'm going to feature here is Ana Maria Alfieri. This is a book called City of Silver, and it's set in Peru. This is a historical mystery set in the 1650s. It features 2 plots. First, the King of Spain is investigating suspect silver coins, and the second is the death of a young woman inside an abyss. Mother Maria Santa Hilda is an unstoppable character, but can she solve the mystery? I don't know. We'll have to read to find out. This second author I'd like to feature, it goes to Brazil. And we're talking about Luis Alfredo Garcia Rosa. It's called The Silence of the Rain. This series is set in the wonderful city of Rio de Janeiro. It features Inspector Espinosa. Book 1 features a crime in which a corporate executive is found dead. With many suspects, who is the culprit? Okay. Our next book also features the country of Brazil. It is by author Leighton Gage, called Blood of the Wicked. This is a 7-part series featuring the character of Chief Inspector Mario Silva. He is a good cop and he is surrounded by greed and corruption. We are introduced to his quirky sidekicks, Goncalves, Mara Carta, and Nunez. This book is set in Brazil and features landless workers and a death of an archbishop. I look forward to reading this one too, and I want to read more books that have a South American setting. I think that will be really interesting to learn about the continent. So finally, we are going to move into North America. We have 35 countries, including dependent territories. The most populated being the United States, Mexico, and Canada. And the least populated being Montserrat and Saint-Pierre et Miquelon Islands. Some of our famous North American places can include the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, Yellowstone National Park, which is mostly in Wyoming, Mount Rushmore in South Dakota, Statue of Liberty in New York, Chichen Itza in Mexico, Monte Verde cloud forest in Costa Rica. I've been there. What a beautiful country. Niagara Falls in New York in Canada. Gateway Arch in Missouri. The Alamo in Texas. And of course, here in our own backyard, the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. My first author is Michael Connelly. His first book is called The Black Echo. It's set in the great state of California. This series features a maverick detective, Hieronymus, or Harry Bosch. The heart of this first installment of the series is the discovery of a dead body in a drain pipe. It becomes personal because the victim is also a fellow Vietnam vet. This is an action-packed mystery, really action-packed, in which Bosch is fighting an enemy from within LAPD headquarters. But who is the culprit? This is, this one is such an addicting series. It is popular. I believe they made a mini-series or a TV series. Bosch is based on Michael Connelly's novels. It's right up there near the top of series that I like. I love Michael Connelly, and everything he comes out with, I read. But this is a very long series. You're going to follow Harry all throughout his career and what his career evolves into. So really cool series. So my next place to visit is the Caribbean. And the Caribbean is considered part of North America. And sorry about that. Technology, you got to love. So my next series is Agatha Christie's The Caribbean Mystery. The Caribbean Mystery is just one of Agatha Christie's books. Now, in this series, Agatha Christie is the grande dame of mysteries. The glorious Miss Marple is sent to the Caribbean to help her with her rheumatism. And she's so used to her own setting in England that it's kind of sort of like, well, this is a beautiful place, but she's bored because she has an inquisitive mind. And so during her stay, retired soldier Major Palgrave shares a story about a murderer he knew. But unfortunately, the murderer became aware of that their secret was about to be revealed. So a death ensues. Who is the murderer? Do not fear. Miss Marple is on the case, and the murderer does not stand a chance. This is also has been made into a DVD set, and the wonderful actress Joan Hickman plays Miss Marple. So this is also a great one to watch. And Agatha Christie, of course, is a great author who has so many books, wonderful books to read, and the library owns lots of them. So my next and last author to discuss is Nelson DeMille. Nelson DeMille has a series with John Corey. The first book is called Plum Island. So in the series, NYPD homicide detective John Corey is recovering on Long Island from injuries sustained on the job. Before long, a local couple he met were found dead with bullets in their head. The local sheriff asked Corey for help into what happened with this couple. Is it the military? Is it drugs? Is it an angry lover? Or is it none of the above? Read to find out. I want to thank you today for enjoying this presentation on Reader's Advisory and traveling around the globe with mysteries. I have had enormous fun researching this for you and sharing these titles and authors with you. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time.
Excitement and adventure are around every corner this summer at your library. Create your own literary wonderland at home. Immerse yourself in our never-ending online library. Learn new skills, explore virtual events, and connect with your community in a whole new way. Starting May 18th, the Prince George's County